In this video, we're going to look at a range of techniques for transforming our data using grouping and sorting. Rohan needs to create one more pivot table showing the total investment in renewable energy by year. You'll notice, however, we do not have just a year. We actually have a date. So the first thing we're going to look at is working with dates in pivot tables. Now, making sure we click somewhere in the data, we're going to come to our Insert tab. We're going to click Pivot Table and we're going to put it in an existing location, and that's going to be our investment sheet. And A3 and OK. Now we want to see our total amount, so I'm just going to select Amount, and we want to see it by date. And I'm going to select Date, and now something quite interesting has happened. What it has actually done is taken those dates and grouped them. And I'll just expand this so you can see by month, within quarter, within the year. This didn't used to happen in older versions of Excel, and it might not be something you actually want. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how we can switch the grouping off. And then we'll look at how we can apply a grouping of our own choice. So clicking somewhere into the dates, we're going to come up to our Pivot Table Analyze ribbon. And we're going to choose Ungroup. And this will remove the grouping. And now it's quite hard to actually analyze the data. So you'll probably find you need to add some level of grouping to your dates. And the grouping we would like is actually a year. So we're going to select one of the dates again. For dates and numbers, we choose Group field. These are all the units you could group by. And you can use multiple. So I could click on years, and that will group by months and years. If I click on months to unselect it, that will just give me years. Let's have a look at how it looks with the two. So I'm going to do months and years, and I'm going to say OK. And there's our group data. Just to the left of the group field, you'll see two little buttons, a collapse field and an expand field. If I click the collapse, you'll see it collapses all the groups, and if I expand, it expands all the groups. That's a quick way to expand and collapse, but you can also do it manually. So if I come to one of the little minus or plus signs, that will also allow me to expand and collapse a particular group. I don't actually want to have the month though. So I could come back to my group field, or even easier, I can come to my rows quadrant, grab the date field, drop it off, and now I've just got the year grouping. And you can do something very similar with numeric values. So if you had invoices that you wanted to batch in hundreds, you could use the group field for that as well. What we can look at next is how we can create a custom grouping. And for this, I'd like you to come to your capacity by year pivot. And we're going to collapse our non-renewable so we can just see the total non-renewable rather than the breakdown. And what we're going to do now is add a grouping to our renewable sources. Some of these sources, like marine energy for example, make up a very small percentage of the capacity. So what we'd like to do is actually take our bioenergy, geothermal and marine and just group them into a new category called Other. And we're going to do this by selecting them first. I'm going to click bioenergy, hold my control key down, click geothermal and marine, and then coming up to my group section, I'm going to choose group selection. What that is effectively done is create another layer in the hierarchy. So I still have my individual main technologies, but I now have another layer called Main Technology 2, where these three are grouped together. Now I need to give this grouping a proper name, so I'm going to call it Other. And then I'm going to remove Main Technology from my pivot field list. And now I'm just looking at Main Technology 2, which I could give a different name, but I'm quite happy with it. So that was how we could create a custom grouping, which can be really useful. Let's now look at sorting data in a pivot. And for this one, we're going to come to capacity by region. And you'll notice when you create a pivot, it automatically sorts by row label and column label. But this might not be what you want. So for example, let's say we wanted the largest capacity. We wanted to sort by total capacity. If I click into my grand total column and come up to my data tab on my ribbon, I can use all the standard sort tools. And I'd like to sort this largest to smallest. And you'll see it's resorted the whole pivot. If I wanted to get back to my alphabetic sort, I can just come back into my row labels and click A to Z. You also have the option to sort by row. So if I click into the row data that I want to sort by and click my A to Z sort button, you'll see I have the option to sort left to right, which is handy. But even more interesting is you can create your own custom sort. You can just specify where you want each value to go, and there are a few ways of doing this. One that's very interesting is if I decided I wanted Asia to be down here instead. I can actually just start by typing Asia, press enter, and you'll see it's actually popped Asia down here. Probably more intuitive is you can drag and drop. And let's say I want North America to be at the top of the list. I'm going to select the row. So I've just come just to the right of the 10. Then click onto the green border that surrounds it till I get my move icon. And then I can just click and drag. So you can reorganize your row labels or your column labels to be in any sequence you like. If I remove region from the rows quadrant and then re-add it, it remembers my sort order. Finally, there's one very interesting option, which is not obvious, and this is called sorting with a custom list. And I'm going to use a completely different workbook to demonstrate this. So this is just a demo workbook. You'll see I've got some very simple data. I've got a week's worth of sales from Sally, May, and Anne. And I've already created a pivot table showing the total sales. If I add day of the week to that pivot, you'll see it sorts Monday to Sunday, which at first glance makes sense. But that's not alphabetical. So how did Excel know to sort in that sequence? Well, the answer is it's used a custom list. If you haven't heard the term custom list before, when I type Monday into a cell and drag down, it automatically gives me the days of the week. And the same works for months of the year, and that is called a custom list. To locate the custom lists, you need to come to File, come to Options, select Advanced, and if you scroll right down to the bottom, you'll see a button, Edit Custom Lists. These are the custom lists that come standard with Excel. But there's nothing to stop you creating your own. And if you do, pivot tables will automatically sort using that custom list, which is really handy, but it does come with one small caution. I'm going to cancel out of here and click into the pivot table. I'm going to remove the day, and instead I'm going to sort by salesperson. And something very odd has happened. That is definitely not alphabetical. And if I click somewhere in there and click the A to Z, it's still not alphabetical. Now, why is that? Well, the reason is this May isn't just a girl's name. It's also a month name. So if you have people called Jan or April or May, they're automatically going to sort at the top of the list because Excel will favor the custom lists over any other data. So in rare situations, you may find you need to turn them off. Let's see how to do that. So in your pivot table, you can come to Options in the ribbon, or you can just right-click and choose Pivot Table Options, and on the Totals and Filters tab, you'll see there's an option, Use Custom Lists when sorting. Now what we're going to do is turn that off. So there's our sort without the custom list. So quite a lot of options we've looked at in this video. Remember, on your pivot table Analyze, your group selection will allow you to group fields for dates and numbers, or group selection for your specific groups. And on your Data tab, you can use a variety of sort options, or you can use a custom list. In the next video, we're going to look at filtering data in our pivots.